Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be joined here again on stage with Kitboga. What a great keynote this morning. And we're going to just build upon that now. So welcome back, Kit.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Just a quick housekeeping. This session is recorded and it'll be immediately available on this exact page when it concludes. If you want to pass it around to colleagues, if you tuned in late, just jump back into this page. And this session is all about interactivity. We're live. Drop your questions in the Q&A. Kit's going to pick, decide what to jump into and what to answer. So see the right-hand tab. There's a Q&A. And not only submit your questions, but upvote so that we see them bubble to the top of what is most pertinent to you. I have also, you'll see my name there. I am not asking him questions, but I pulled over some of the keynote questions so that we make sure that we do cover those as well. And if we don't get to some, we'll follow up after the close of this session.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
With that,
I'm excited. I think too, I'll probably start with the most upvoted ones and we'll see where that brings us.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Can everybody, I guess everyone can see the questions too over in the tab. So it looks like this looks like one of the most upvoted ones. It was from the previous session. Says, do you have any recommendations for helping customers realize they're being scammed? In your experience, what is the best approach to these conversations? And the person who asked the question wrote, deprogramming our customers has proven very difficult, very time consuming. And I can, that resonates with me quite a bit. I apparently with a lot of you too, because it's the most upvoted question right now. We have tried to help and have helped a lot of victims over the years, and it can be really difficult at times, especially with like romance scams or someone who's been involved in a scam for years. I think in some ways connecting with the person on more of a personal level, not just jumping right into you've fallen for a scam. Right? If it's more asking the right questions, walking them through certain red flags. I've had some success when we've done this where if I start asking the victim to tell me their story, or I'm saying, well, what happened today? Who have you been talking to? Was there anyone on your computer? That sort of thing. As they start telling me their story, sometimes I can almost finish their sentence or kind of complete the scam. So if they tell me, my husband wants me to do this wire transfer, and I ask, how is your husband? Can I talk to your husband? And they say, well, my he's actually out at sea right now. And then I'll say, did he drop his phone in the ocean? Which is a very kind of typical romance scam trope. Sometimes that has helped because if I can complete the thought, the victim has seen some, like, wait a second, how would you know that? But it could be really hard. I noticed you said it's time consuming. I'm not sure if I have a great answer to how to do it really quickly, because a lot of it, especially with the deprogramming, I think does take time. Hopefully some of those ideas helped, or maybe it sparked some ideas for you guys to think about solutions for that. Okay, Richard asks, considering the work you do, are you afraid you might be on a dangerous list? The people on the phone might not be bright, but the people on the top of the chain lose millions. Interesting question. And some of the scammers I talk to are definitely very smart, but I think you're right. A lot of the people I'm on the phone with they're just a cog in the machine. They're just reading their script and trying their best, and the people at the top do make a lot of the money. I'm not super worried about it. Truthfully, I didn't talk about this during the session, but I kind of prefer that the scam bosses just think I'm a trickster or some guy who makes jokes on the internet. A lot of my videos on YouTube focus on like the entertainment and the funny element. So I kind of hope that the guys at the top of the scam world don't see me as much of a threat, and that's why I don't always talk about things like this in the videos. Susie Durkins asks, I'm trying to make sure my parents are less. Sorry, I'm thinking about Calvin and Hobbes. They're trying to make sure my parents are less likely victims to scams. However, my dad refuses to download Serif Secure, won't watch YouTube videos, and only half listens when I try to explain things to him. Do you have any ideas on other resources that I could point him towards? Man, the first thing that comes to mind is that it can be really hard if someone doesn't really want to be helped, right? Because I could say, oh, well, there's some great resources on the FTC website, or we have great resources on my YouTube channel, but it sounds like you're saying your parents refuse to watch them and they don't really want to go look. Uh, yeah, I wish I had a really good answer for you. Maybe try connecting with them on that level of, Dad, I'm really concerned. Mom, I'm really concerned for what might be happening. I pay attention to these things and it's getting really, really bad. I'm worried about you. Depending on the age, I don't know the legalities of all of this, but I know from my experience with grandparents who had Alzheimer's and dementia, or as our parents are getting older, sometimes there's a time where we kind of just have to step in and make some choices for them, be a little bit more proactive about locking down security or just putting things on their computer. But of course, you'd probably have to consult a lawyer about some of those things. Hi, Kit. In your opinion, what do you think would be a good starting point for lawmakers, whether it be in federal, state, or local, that would be beneficial in educating, preventing, and recovering from scams? At this point, I think more has to be done. You put has in all caps. I agree wholeheartedly that I think lawmakers need to do more. I think it certainly starts with them just being a part of these conversations. I don't know many of them that are involved in stuff like this. When I've talked to the few that I have talked to, they seem to be kind of stuck in the past as well, thinking about scams and how they were targeting people from 10 years ago or something like that. So part of it certainly is education and probably us taking it to them. I think we need to be more involved in doing that. What would be beneficial in educating, preventing? Yeah, I agree. Something has to be done, but from what I see, unfortunately, I don't think our lawmakers know how bad the problem is. So we probably have to be the ones to start coming up with solutions and start bringing things to their to their attention. Okay, Kiku, what are your plans for the remote blocking software you built? What are your experiences so far? Is it worth it? Good questions. I mean, I would say for sure it's worth it. I mean, the first time we heard a report of somebody not falling for a scam was life changing. I suppose it was really incredible to see that happen. So we have that's been huge. The plans are just to try to get it out to as many people as possible. I'd love for everyone to be able to use something like that. We've got some victim groups or law enforcement groups who are using it to clean victims' computers, which has been great. Sometimes a victim of a scam has been they maybe it was a romance scam, maybe it was a tech support scam, who knows. They're able to use the free tool to remove all that software from someone's computer. And there's times where someone's had hundreds of different connections on their computer. So yeah, I thank you for the question. I'm really excited. I think it's definitely worth it. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get the right questions. Okay. The next one I see here I think from the last session was, with scammers taking advantage of SEO and creating more effective fake sites, how do victims know which site is the correct one to go to? Specifically when they don't already know the website. Ah, they're conducting research. So the first, you had me in the first half, because I say that in the first half, probably we could educate more or put those sorts of things on our websites, right? About what to look out for and how to verify. Um, Ironically, the software we're working on will block phishing sites or new websites or potential duplicates. But I honestly, it seems like that is the first answer that comes to mind to me, is people building tools like that have to take the guesswork out for people. I don't think we can expect the average internet user to be able to conduct all their own research, especially when you're saying, again, the second half. The way I'm imagining this playing out is you hear about a product, whatever it is, brown dog hot dogs, and you Google it, and it actually takes you to the wrong website because some scammer is playing. I don't know if that brand exists, by the way, but scammers are paying for ads that redirect you to some other website. That'd be very difficult for a consumer unless we're pushing for people like Google to solve that problem, or we have a way of notifying people of brand new domains and things like that. Interesting question though. The next one I see, and thank you guys for asking all these. I like to hopefully my answers help, but I love to think about these things. In your experience, as you've mentioned trying to be in different personalities, at what point will the scammer walk away before getting what they wanted? Yeah, honestly, I think oftentimes it's asking questions. If I like going back to that first session, the scammers want you to be sort of focused on them and alone and get this sort of tunnel vision of the mission and listen to what they say and be complicit. So if the more questions you're asking, usually the higher chance that the scammer is just going to hang up, because they want to find someone who's just going to follow the directions. So I've definitely seen that. I've also had circumstances where, although this is just from my perspective, if I'm not scared enough or sad enough at certain parts, like when they're telling me that my computer is being hacked and there's bad things on it, if I don't react to that in a very real way, sometimes they'll hang up because they're looking for a very serious reaction, which is kind of tough to think about. I mean, they know what a real reaction sounds like. In your experience, oh yeah, I just answered that one. But yeah, asking questions is the first. What's the best way to secure passwords if you shouldn't save them in Chrome? I wouldn't save them in Chrome. I would use a password manager. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Use one that's not, saving everything in Chrome. They're very simple to use. At this point, I feel like everyone should have one. Great question. Easy answer. The next was Kit. What do you think is the best, most efficient way to educate people about scams who are not internet savvy? Thanks for what you do. Best and most efficient. Man, it's so hard because in some ways, I've been able to educate millions of people with the videos, but I guess it depends on who you're trying to educate, right? Because I think the average person who watches my videos, there's a specific like age range or demographic of people. So it would kind of be dependent on who you're trying to reach. Of course, more community like engagement or more like going to, we have a connection with a particular police department, and I know they do a lot of community outreach, and they'll go to like retirement centers or libraries, and they'll give talks about scams and what to watch out for. And that's something that I'm not doing. So yeah, you said the best, most efficient. I think it's difficult because without knowing who specifically we want to target, I would probably say it's all of us getting involved on a local level. I think like, kind of grassroots, we all need to be a part of this. Lewis says, "Hey Kit, will you be joining the Operation Shamrock teams?" I hope so. We've had some introductions and some conversations, and I would absolutely love to be involved. Do you work with law enforcement regarding prosecution? I would say a lot of times we send a lot of information over to the right places. Oftentimes it's a kind of a black box when it comes to reporting things to banks or law enforcement. I'm not personally involved with like prosecuting or anything like that. Have they used the information that we've given to prosecute? That is up in the air. I would like to think so, but I that's sort of like another world that I don't really see. Are there oh, sorry. Luke says, are there any scammers slash groups that you absolutely will not engage with? How do you discriminate schemes that are operated by legitimate bad guys and the ones that are yeah, you mentioned the human trafficking. Great question. That is part of why I haven't done a lot of videos on the more, I don't know if the right word is traditional pig butchering schemes, but it is a lot of human trafficking tends to be involved in those. And so for me, it's been tricky mentally to really want to waste time and start texting someone or getting involved in that scheme, not knowing who's on the other end. I've been going back and forth with my team about it, how we want to tackle it, because of course I don't know if it's a victim of human trafficking or not. And it is a very serious problem. So that's one that I have sort of stayed away from, at least in my typical let's waste as much time as possible way. But nothing else really comes to mind except for there's something I say a lot of, the scam versus scum idea. So for example, the guys who call you and say, I would like to tell you that your car warranty is out of date. We need to renew your extended warranty. Some of those guys are operating within the law, and as much as I think they shouldn't exist, they technically legally can exist. So I won't really engage with them. What is your favorite voice to use? Um, I think probably I do some kind of voice like this sometimes. It's kind of a ragtag, scrappy guy, and he gets into a lot of trouble. He tends to play. I call him Tony. He tends to get really animated and angry, and sometimes he's the bad guy. I didn't really talk about this on my previous session, but sometimes I'll do multiple voices on the call. If I really want to get a scammer amped up, I will pretend I'm walking into the bank and then this other guy comes over or something, and it's Tony, the guy next door, warning me about scams. So I have a lot of fun with that one because he's perhaps the craziest character. What are your thoughts on AI coming from uh, the likes of Google that can detect scams in real time and warn victims if they're on a phone call? I haven't seen demos of it. My honest answer is I am a bit fearful of someone like a Google doing that. That said, I do think that those sorts of steps have to be taken. It's something I've thought about ourselves. We've talked about, do we need to be developing something like that? There's always going to be this balance of like privacy versus security. I'm again, honestly, a little nervous about like, okay, well, who and what track record does the company have? I guess in regards to privacy, do I want them to listen to every single phone call ever? But that said, I do think technology like that could really help if it's done appropriately, and we're thinking about privacy as we do it. I haven't seen a demo though, so I'm also wondering how well does it work? What are some of the most effective strategy? Oh, a new one just got uploaded more. Um, okay, can you talk about your team and what do they do? The unsung heroes. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. I have a quite the team. There's a mix between volunteers and paid people. Everything from mods who help me keep chat less crazy because sometimes in live streams things get a little dicey. I'm not watching the chat right now. Hopefully it's very tame. Um, So I have great mods. I have people who, while I'm on calls with scammers, they'll help me to keep track of what's going on and take notes, because sometimes I'm just doing call after call after call, and I'm switching between. I'll be on the phone with one scammer with this voice, and then I'm getting another phone call, and I have to pretend to be someone else, and it's a completely different scenario. And so I have people that will like help me keep track of what's going on, which is great, because otherwise I definitely wouldn't be able to keep track of all those things. But it's grown quite a bit. So we have developers and creative teams and all kinds of stuff. I really like working with them, and everybody so far has all been involved in the community in some way. Like they've watched Twitch or YouTube, and that's how they found out that I was trying to hire someone or looking for volunteers, which has been really cool. Okay, I think I answered the one about the scammers that I might not engage with. Do you find more and more do you find banks more and more liable for not engaging customers more to understand large and unusual withdrawals? It's tricky because, right, the first question of this session is like, how do we deprogram someone? That's very hard to do, and it takes time. But yeah, honestly, I am expecting so much more from everyone in this space. I don't want to like I don't want to fault. I don't want to say that they're liable in one sense, but there are things that surely can be done, or checks that could be put in place. There are some companies that, like, one blatant one that comes to mind is someone like a PayPal, who allows scammers to put 1-800 numbers in their invoice system, and then you can see right there in the legitimate invoice, call Best Buy, here's the 1-800 number, but it's a fake Best Buy. It's just a bunch of scammers. Like, surely we have to deal with those problems, and it's not okay to let scammers exploit systems like that. I perhaps wish I would have talked about that a bit more in my first session, but there's so much to talk about. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm probably halfway on the, do we hold them liable, and the, we need to be really serious about it uh, level, because of course there's a lot of things that are at play there. What are the most popular scams today, and um, are they more popular by phone or internet? What are the top 35 red flags? Oh, a bunch of good questions. Um, Gosh, I mean, for sure, anything investment related is huge. I think that's like the number one scam right now. Are they more popular by phone or internet? I think it's shifting away from phone, but I still see lots of phone calls and texting happening. Um, yeah, definitely anything investment related is huge. I think 3 to 5 red flags. In the last session, I don't know if I can remember exactly how I worded it, but one thing is the sense of urgency. Whether you've won $1 million or you think you owe $1 million, the scammer is going to pressure you to act now. Another big one is they're going to start telling you not to talk to your friends or family. They're going to say, like, keep this private, don't talk to the bank. I think I had a third one too that is for some reason escaping me. Maybe I could pull it up in a second. But yeah, that sense of urgency and that kind of keeping you alone and knowing that the scammer is the only one you should trust. Perhaps that was the third one. Um, Hopefully that helps. Where do you see scam baiting in 5 years? I mean, I see it moving towards automation. I didn't really talk about that in my session, but we're building like an AI to call scammers. Um, we've built a fake crypto exchange honeypot that convinces scammers that they're getting Bitcoin, and then they spend literal days of their life trapped in this like really bad customer service experience. Uh, but yeah, definitely, I think everything in my mind is going towards automation. There's so many scammers. If I want to do something about it, I have to employ or implore. I have to use AI. I have to use automation. What are some of the most good questions, guys? I hope I'm getting through enough of them. Um, What are some of the most effective strategies you've developed for prolonging interactions with scammers and gathering valuable information without revealing your true intentions? I mean, the first one that comes to mind is what I was just talking about. That about a year ago now, we made that fake Bitcoin honeypot. It's very hard to explain quickly, but essentially, scammers believe that they're getting Bitcoin on this other website, this other platform that seems very legitimate, and then they do things like, I mean, we've even had them upload their passport and do the KYC process at Kraken, because we've told them that that's our payment partner or something, and then the fraud team over there can like watch the scammers try to go through their KYC process, or the scammers will log in day after day after day looking for help from customer service, and I can pretend to be customer service now. So instead of being the victim, I'm a completely legitimate platform asking you questions like, where do you live? What's your bank account? Can you upload a picture of your driver's license? And almost every time that's a victim who we're then able to like reach out to and help. So yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind. It's perhaps a bit more advanced than just changing my voice, but we've come a long way. Do you work with other scammers like Jim Browning? Yeah, actually, I was just in Canada with Jim and Pleasant Green 2 or 3 weeks ago, working on a piece with CBC Marketplace, and we talk quite a bit. There's a couple things we're working on. Um, Seeing as most bad guys operate in countries with questionable governments, how do you suggest we innovate to minimize the damage these cause? Hmm. The way I'm understanding this question is, and I've experienced this as well, so hopefully this is where you're going, is that it can be really difficult to, it's a delicate balance or a delicate dance of, well, how do we play with different countries or different places that don't really want to help us or don't really want to give us access to things? Yeah, I would say a lot of it's just preventative. I was talking before about when people are registering, these scammers have to register domain names, for example. They have to get certificates. They have to find ways to, excuse me, launder money. So if we can start to be more proactive about figuring out how they're doing it, what techniques they're using, maybe even where they're coming from, there could be a way to solve it. Hopefully that answers your question. It's a tricky one. What is the best way to keep staff engaged in understanding phishing attempts instead of one and done? Do you mean in terms of like one? The way I perceive this question, maybe I can pull up chat in case you're here, Audrey. The way I perceive this is they do one training seminar and that's it. I've seen some people using what's it called? Like demos where, or different phishing platforms where they will actually send you emails randomly throughout the day or week. I think that's perhaps more engaging because it's not just one session, it happens later. Actually, one time somebody submitted one of those emails to my inbound submission form because they were like, Kit, this is a scam and it's targeting my workplace. Can you check it out? And then I clicked the link and it said, you just got phished by the IT team. Like, and I was very nervous because I thought that they might get in trouble. Um, but yeah, that might be a great way to keep people engaged. How can scam baiters develop effective profiles of scammers, including their methods and psychological attacks, to better anticipate and counterattack? Trying to think if I understand the question. Effective profiles, including their methods. I mean, in some ways, I think it's just going through it. If you run through 10, 20 calls in any particular scam category, you'll start to see the similarities. I like to say, and I think it's true, in some cases, I know the scam script better than the scammers that I'm talking to do, because a lot of times there's like a really high turnover, especially in the call centers. So part of it's, yeah, just living it and doing it. I think the other thing that comes to mind is like that fake Bitcoin honeypot we have, we're able to collect things like IP addresses and what kinds of devices they're using and stuff like that. Do you know any software tools institutions can use to accurately detect when users of their service have remote accesses running? Great question, Andrea. It's something that my team is working on. I don't know of anything to date. I wish I could say yes. It's something that we're trying to develop actively. We have a tool that develops it if it's on the user's computer. It will detect and block those things for users. But to detect it, for example, the way I perceive this is, can you detect it on your website? That's something that we're trying to work on. Great question. I can't find. I wish I had a solution for you. Maybe we'll have one soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was rapid fire,
Yeah.
Kit. Way to
I
go.
was trying to just get there.
And look at that. We ended it on time perfectly.
Oh,
So
nice. Great.
that was Kit has mentioned his software he's building quite a few times. So I'll pop it up on the screen now. Please go check it out. There's a 10-minute demo on our website where he walks through the tool. And there's also 10 other Unit 21 demos there as well. So jump in. They're all about just 10 to 20 minutes to dig in a little bit to, how we can combat these things together. Right now we got a 5-minute break, and then there are 3 more sessions happening. So take your pick. There's account takeover. There's the top 5 fraud challenges for FI, and there's a BAS panel. All really great sessions to come. And lastly, you've probably heard this, but we're doing an industry-wide survey, our 3rd annual, to really state and put forward, what is the state of fraud in AML? How can we combat it together? Where are people struggling? Where are people thriving? So that we can, collaborate across the industry. And so please do fill out this survey. It's only about a 6-minute survey. It really allows us to uncover trends across the industry. So, Kit, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been awesome.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Maybe I'll see you in another session.
Absolutely. Bye.